CTT presents Mental Health Awareness. Most everybody these days has heard about PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. We generally think of it coming in those who have been in combat type situations, and indeed that's true. But you can also develop PTSD if you're a first responder, a police officer, a fireman, a medic, or if you've been in life-threatening situations in your life, an assault, a robbery, an automobile accident, a fire, hurricane, or flood, and those people can all develop PTSD. The symptoms of PTSD are the same regardless of where it comes from, and they fall into several categories. The first is you've experienced a life-threatening trauma. The second is that you develop unwanted recall of that event, either in terms of thinking about it when you don't want to, or nightmares, or flashbacks, or events which trigger remembrances of the event. You actually go out of your way to avoid thinking about it or being around anything that might remind you of it. So you might avoid the news at night. You might avoid talking about it. Then there are negative thoughts and emotions. And the most common is people begin to withdraw from people in their lives that they're used to being around. They become detached and distant from family members and friends. They don't go out as much. Their moods are mostly negative. They rarely experience truly positive, warm, loving, happy moods. And then the final cluster of symptoms are the ones we usually associate with PTSD, and those are called increased arousal. So being easily startled by noises or people touching you from behind, having difficulty with concentration, being hypervigilant, always looking around to see if somebody might be threatening you harm. And then there's anger, irritability, and agitation. If you suffer, not necessarily from all of these symptoms, but a few symptoms in each of the clusters I mentioned, you might be suffering from PTSD. And we're fortunate here at Clinical Trials of Texas to be one of the very few sites in the United States studying new medications to deal with PTSD, whether it's coming from combat or whether you're a first responder or whether it's coming from some of those other, what we call single incident triggers, the rape, hurricane, fire, flood, automobile accident. So if you think you might suffer from PTSD or know somebody that does, please contact us here at Clinical Trials of Texas. Go on the web to saresearch.com and talk to one of our trained recruiters who will help to determine whether you meet the entry criteria for any of these studies.